welcome to the Castoff. I am your host, Craig Price. Tonight, we look at round 2 of the Castoff, which will happen every Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific throughout the month of January. As you know, this is the show where 2 contestants compete by recasting your favorite actors in movies you love. Let's start off with a recap of last week where Jake Dietz went up against Ben Jones as they recast Knives Out. It wound up Ben who was backstabbed by the judges as Jake won to advance to the second round. As you can see from our bracket challenge, it's still anyone's game with everyone within points of each other, as the points will double in the second round. It was only Steve's perfect picks which proved to be ironic, while everyone else still has a shot to become the Nostradamus of the net. Just so you know, every episode is sponsored by Matinee Heroes, and this weekend on Saturday, we have the amazing Amadeus as we kick off Biography Month. We'll have our great friend Brendan Agnew as he comes on to talk about Amadeus, and you can head over to matineeheroes.com to subscribe to the podcast. And you can also head over to matineeheroes.com/castoff where you can get links to the video feed for this show. So let's get on to the Elite 8. We started off with 16 cinematic gladiators and only 8 remain. And we will actually talk about each one of them but I did want to announce we are going to have a second chance bracket. If you go to challenge.com/castoff S2 second chance, you can pick who could win the 8 of the remaining people to become the victor. It's the veterans versus the newbies, and we'll start off with game 1, where we'll have Patrick Beatty versus Rob Irvin. Now, this is a rematch of our very first playoff, where these two met off, and Patrick Beatty looks to return to the finals where he started off by beating Rob. Patrick Beatty Reviews is where you can find him, and his favorite movie is Nightcrawler. And of course, his cast-off record, which is going to be slightly inflated because he's played a lot of games in the playoffs. He's 4-2, and he has scored 23 total points in his cast-off career. Up against Rob Irvin, who was the top seed in Season 1's playoffs and was quickly vanquished. He's on the Clubhouse podcast. His favorite movie is Airplane, and his record is 2-1, and he has scored a total of 12 points. Then on game 2, we'll have some of the newbies. We have Richard Jensen, as he does Celtic Ray Filmworks. His favorite movie is The Right Stuff, which we have covered here on Matinee Heroes. And his record is 1-1, and he has scored a total of 6 points. So he has really redeemed himself from last season. Then we have Chaz Evans, who is a 100% newbie. He's from the Over and Under Artist Exposed podcast. His favorite movie is Arrival. His record is 1-0, and he has scored 4 points, where he squeaked out a win in round 1. For game 3, Jake Dietz and Alex Barnhill, the battle of the podcast networks. Jake Dietz is with the Stolen Droids Network. His favorite movie is Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers. His cast-off record is 1-1, and he has scored a total of 8 points. Alex is on his first try here at the cast-off, and he is part of the Vocal Now podcast network. His favorite movie, holiday favorite, Die Hard. His record is 1-0, and he has scored a whopping 5 points in that one game. And finally, we get Randy Redacted will emerge from his slumber since he's been out since week 1 when we kicked off the tournament 8 weeks ago. And he will try to repeat his push through the playoffs and secure his title as back-to-back champion with a rematch of his semifinal victory over Tracy Mangum. Now, we all know Randy. He is the prophet. He just pulls names and actors out of thin air. And he's on the Cult 45 podcast. His favorite movie is Back to the Future. And having been the champion, he has played a lot of games, which means he has a lot of points. He is the leading point holder for the cast-off with 26 points. But he'll have his hands full as he will rematch with Tracy, who is with the Movies That Make Us podcast. His favorite movie is The Magnificent Jaws. Both movies you can see here at the Matinee Heroes archives. His record is 3-2, and he has 21 points. So this one will not be an easy victory for either one of them. But let's get on to the schedule. Rob and Patrick will kick off on January 5th. Richard and Chaz will be on January 12th. Alex Barnhill and Jake Dietz on January 19th. And Randy and Tracy go January 26th. So let's get on to Game 9. We've got Rob Irvin versus Patrick Beatty. And the movie they're going to recast, Boogie Nights. The awesome 70s, 80s retro movie. We're going to have to get on our robes and light some firecrackers and just have a great time with one of Burt Reynolds' best performances. If you like what we're seeing and like what you're hearing, you can head over to Matinee Heroes on Twitter. You can watch us on twitch.tv/Matinee Heroes. You can follow us along on facebook.com/groups/Matinee Heroes. And if you want to see us on YouTube, where we'd love you to subscribe, matineeheroes.com/Castoff. Well, this is it. We have moved on to the second round. I'm looking forward to it. We got some great matchups, and we will guarantee have someone new in the finals. So, on behalf of myself, Craig Price, thank you for watching, and we'll see you next week for Boogie Nights.